That's right. This is Bad Weather Fans episode. Insert the number. I'm not saying the name of the episode. Why? Or the number of the episode? Because at the end of every podcast that we do, we say, for example, number 44, you would say Keith Van Horn. For the number of the episode, we guess which Nets and Knicks jerseys that player wore. But because we have Evan Roberts, who's joining us on the podcast today, I don't want to say the episode number to give him a hint once we get to the end. So I will say it at the very end. But this is Bad Weather Fans, episode number blank, with Mike and Alex. Alex, good to see you. How are you? And you, Evan, who is the host of Carton Roberts on WFAN in New York, 2 to 7 p.m. Eastern time, Monday through Friday, joins us well. Evan, how are you?
I'm very honored to be here. I listen to you two guys all the time. I can't get enough of it. So I'm a first-time listener. A long-time listener, second-time appearance member.
That's right. Happy to have you back.
Don't act all nice to me. I'm not happy with you.
You've been on this show the second amount as a guest. What I'm trying to say is we have somebody that's a guest that's been on more.
Yeah.
He has a parody account. His name's Dolan J. Trump. You may have
heard
of him
he
on
likes
Twitter.
Him too. He's our president, so yeah, exactly.
Oh, goodness gracious. All right, so
I'm honored to be in the company of Dolan J. Trump.
You're both friends of the show.
Yeah, he's listening right now, going on Twitter about to say something stupid. Okay, here we go. So the reason you came on was you were listening to the episode that we had, and we were getting into this Nets-Knicks conversation with mercenaries, James Harden, Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and Alex was going off and explaining they were mercenaries. So I'm going to kind of be the in-between guy at the beginning of this, and we'll see where it goes. First, Alex, start off by what you were talking about, your point, and then from there, Evan, I'll let you spout out your Nets brilliance. Alex,
I don't really remember exactly what I said, but I just remember saying that they're a bunch of mercenaries, the big three mercenaries, and I think that's what got under Evan's skin, and he had to come on. And it's just because they all were in cahoots and joined the team together, and it is what it is. So we all know the story. So go ahead. What did you want to say?
First of all, I want to make something absolutely clear. I listen to every word that is said. I'm not triggered by you and your ignorance and your fellow Knicks fans. I laugh at you.
Oh, okay.
I laugh at you. I pity you because all you've done, I'm looking straight in your eyes because you represent Knicks fans. So it's not just you. I don't want you to think I'm singularly attacking you.
No, that's okay.
All you've done for years is fantasize about superstars. All you've done is talk about cap space for superstars. All you've done is LeBron's going to pick us. KD's going to pick us. That's all you've done. Okay. So I find it sad. That'd be the word. Sad that we stole your script. We took all the superstars, all of them. I mean, we didn't leave any for you. And instead of just accepting that fact, you got to start with, well, what can I go to now? What can I do to attack that? You know what? I'll say they're mercenaries. And it's BS because you're a Met fan. Is that correct? You're a Met fan?
And a Jets fan. Yep.
Great. I'm a Met fan too. We have that bond. Was Mike Piazza a mercenary?
No.
Oh,
he was a trade.
And then he had to re-sign for $90+ million, which they did.
Right.
Was Robin Ventura a mercenary?
No.
No.
But here, let me explain.
Why would he be? Was Al Leiter a mercenary? He's from Jersey. He can't be a mercenary. Give me a break. You see the hypocrisy.
I've laid it out for you. But if you let me say the second part of the point. So I don't know if I said it the last time. So if the big three that you have right now, the big three mercenaries, I'm just teasing you. So the big three stay long term and they resign and they stay and they're here for a long time, then they're not mercenaries. Then they become part of the team. But if they're here for a year or two and then they're gone, or 3 years and then they're gone, that's what they were. Do you think Heat fans look at LeBron as, was he a mercenary or is he like one of the, part of the family? Dwayne Wade is their king. You know what I'm saying? Do you think the Lakers, let me ask you something. Besides you and 12 other New Jersey Nets fans.
There we go. At least he went back to that.
I had to give it to you. You're throwing shots at me. I had to give it to you.
There's a playbook. Open the playbook. Page 7.
There's no shots. I got to give them back. Listen, it's all in love. Don't worry. But so let's say in 2004, the whole world was rooting for the Detroit Pistons to beat the Lakers. Why? In the finals. Because
you're going to say because they added Gary Payton and Karl Malone. I'd say it's because they're the freaking Lakers. That's why.
It's not just because of that, though.
And they had also won 3 championships in a row not too far before that. They were the evil freaking Lakers. But I understand, they added Peyton and Malone at the end of their careers, but it was more than that. They were the freaking Lakers.
Yes. No, of course. But also, like, look at the Celtics when they had Garnett and Pierce and everybody showed up, right? And Ray Allen. I don't know many Celtics fans, but I don't think they looked at them as their guys until they were there for a couple of years. I'm serious. Like, how can you not say that,
dude?
Wait, let me ask Alex one
because
thing.
Also my opinion as a Knicks fan, if you went to me as a Nets fan and was like, "Oh, look at you, if we got all the superstars right 2 years ago," and you guys said to me, "Oh, look at you got a bunch of mercenaries," I'd be like, "Yeah, fuck it, we do."
That was my question.
Difference.
Okay, so you answered my question. Evan, go ahead.
That's the difference. That's the difference right there. I'd be like, "Yeah, that's it. We got them because they come here because we're the Knicks, and that's what we do."
I think it's much easier for you to say what you would do in a situation that you have no shot at because you don't have superstars flocking to your team. So it's easy to say, this is what I would say, this is what I would do. Look, I understand the point that we didn't draft Kevin Durant. We didn't draft Kyrie Irving. We didn't watch them develop into superstars. And I totally, because I've said this already on the air, I want these guys here long term. I'm the fat kid who wants a lot of cake. I don't not only want to win a championship, I want James Harden finishing his career in Brooklyn. Right. I want Durant. So I'm not going to lie to you and say that doesn't mean anything to me. But you're a Knicks fan. I'm a Net fan. We have won nothing in our lives. Nothing.
True.
When the Knicks won 54 games and had that amazing year in 2012, everybody basically on that roster was guys you either traded for or signed as a free agent. And it did not take an ounce of joy away from what you had that year.
Right.
Not an ounce.
Right.
So I take those comments. Doesn't trigger me, doesn't bother me. It's just another pathetic attempt to try to make what we're doing less than. And it's sad.
But it does bother
don't
you.
Do it.
You're clearly bothered.
There does seem to be a minimization from the Knicks fan
Yeah.
to find any way they can to point out that this team, if they get to the finals or win a championship, won't be the same because it was constructed like I've heard this. They're not real Nets. What
real
the fuck
Nets?
are real Nets? They're on the team. They're in the roster. They're running up and down the court. They're paid millions of dollars. They're real Nets. There's this perception that they had to be like Karis LeVert was a real Net. Jared Allen was a real Net. You know what happened? They made real good decisions to become this team, and that's how they are the real Nets. Now, are they the same Nets I grew up when I was 17? And there was a different love there because I was a little kid, sure. But this is a real team with the real chances of winning.
I go back, Biseglia, I asked him about 2013 because that really was an awesome Knick team. I'm not trying to mock it or minimize it. I understand it ended in the second round and all, but was Jason Kidd a real Knick? No, but you loved him. He was great for your team that year.
I loved him until he couldn't hit a shot in the playoffs. I loved him, but I mean, like,
I understand, but he led that. But he led that great regular season comeback in San Antonio. That was like your signature regular season win.
Yes, Rasheed Wallace also real Knick. Yes,
right.
10 games,
and it didn't. It didn't sap Kenyon Martin. It didn't sap a centimeter of joy away from you. And trust me, I was jealous as hell. I'll be the first to admit we had a 49-win year that year. I couldn't enjoy it because you guys were better. But I never, not once, as much as I despise your franchise, tried to minimize it.
Right.
And that's all you guys do. And so that's the thing I find crazy. Like, I wouldn't do that. I didn't do that.
Maybe you
that's
wouldn't,
all you do.
But if you think that there aren't Nets fans out there that are minimizing everything the Knicks are doing on a consistent basis, you know the accounts out there that are doing that.
Bro.
I'm on Twitter, you know them.
I'm me and you're you. Okay.
Yes.
I've never minimized anything you've accomplished.
You have not.
You
That's why I love your show. That's why I listen to you. Yes.
Thank you.
Exactly.
But you, and I still listen to your podcast with Mike, you minimize what we're doing. And it's sad because you don't need to do that. All you've got to say, and I'd respect it, is, God, I hate you guys now. Never did, never cared about you.
But I have said that. Ask Mike. Mike, have I said once you guys got Harden, it was over? I'm just like, you know what? I can't. There's no hating anymore. It just is what it is.
I will defend you on that front because when the trade went down, I was against it. I don't think as much as you were, Evan, with the dribble, the fat.
Listen to that live. That was hilarious.
But I was against it as well. And Alex was like, Mike, you just added one of the best players in the league. You don't realize what you have. Like, I can't even get upset anymore. This team's absurd and ridiculous. So he did say that, but there are moments where it feels like there's always that little
That's
poke.
the point.
Remind you of who you are. Remind you of Continental Airlines Arena. Remind you of Brendan Byrne. Remind you of Jacques Vaughn as the point guard there, not the assistant coach. Remind you of all the other players that were on the team. And it just can't be the focus of, well, this is now. This is
right.
Now. This is really happening. This is really going to move forward, and Knicks fans are going to really have to watch.
And you know what? You know what's also got to kill these guys? They're not just here for this year. They're here next year. Mm-hmm. And then I hope, that's your line if they're mercenaries or not, but they may stay longer. So this may not go away anytime soon. And look, you can go use the same old tired, there are no Net fans. I've never met a Net fan. We don't care. I know the Nets aren't as popular.
You do care. So that's
do I?
You do care. Look at you right now. Look how mad you are right now. You care.
I am mad. I'm mad at hypocrisy, not at necessarily what you're saying. I'm mad that, here, I'll give you credit for something.
Okay.
I'm going to give you credit for where you addressed your hypocrisy.
Mm-hmm.
And I like that. Mm-hmm. We, as Net fans, love 2019. We were having such a good time with that team. Right. And you mocked them for celebrating us. You mocked us for celebrating a 6 seed and being slightly above 500. And now that you're having a 2019-like season, you're admitting, I was just jealous, man. I mean, look, we were a mess. It bothered me that everyone always, instead of just saying the Nets are having a great year, they had to compare it to the Knicks. I respect that. You've come clean on that. Mm-hmm. You've come clean because you had to, because you're celebrating being 500.
It's because it was more of like you just said, what I've said, I'm repeating what you just said. It was like, you're at a playoff game with versus Sixers and you have put Charles Oakley on the big screen. Why did you do that?
I didn't like that.
Why you did that?
I didn't like that.
You took a picture of it and you put it on Twitter.
And what did I say?
Oh, I don't remember what you said. I just remember that you put it up there.
I don't remember what I said either, but I didn't like it. I think I ripped it at some point.
An all-time Raptor is what you wrote on the tweet.
Yeah.
Well, because they put him in a Raptor jersey. It was pathetic.
They should have put him in a Bulls jersey or something. That would have been even better. But I don't know.
No, but there is a I'll say this as a Net fan, and I've talked about my dislike for the Knicks. I want them to suck. I have always felt like that. And somebody tweeted this to me, like, when you were 13, there was a Knicks fan that put you in a locker. And my answer was, yeah, I think there was. Like, there was always this idea that because you like the Nets, that you weren't like a real basketball fan, or you didn't get the pulse of what it was like to be a basketball fan or an understanding. Well, I think a lot of Net fans like that, for me, I think is where the grudge comes from. Like, hey, wait a minute. Just because I don't root for the Knicks and John Starks doesn't mean I don't know and appreciate good basketball.
You know what else? And I completely agree with you. And this hit me. What else is happening that kind of makes me laugh, but annoys me a little bit? We've always been obsessed with the Knicks. And you guys can understand why. We're the little brother. Biseglia just pointed it out. Knicks fans kind of looked at us as nothing. What I now notice is that Knicks fans are incredibly obsessed with us, because why else are you passively aggressively bragging about getting the back page? We own this town, things like that. We know the Knicks are more popular than the Nets. Even having superstars isn't going to change that. But yet it's every single day we have to remind the world and everybody in this city, we're the Knicks. Get over it.
I'll tell you why.
Great.
I'll tell you
popular.
Why. For me, I can't speak for all Knicks fans, but for me, it's because we are beaten down with every time the Nets do something. It's like, yeah, but look at the Knicks. Look at these pathetic little losers. It's just like, what do we have to do with this? Oh, and you look on ESPN, people who haven't been in New York in 10 years, and they're like, oh, the Nets are the most popular team. And like, no, they're not. You know what I mean? So it just becomes, and you guys know that it's not the case, even now. And it's just like, that is why Knicks fans become on the defensive, because of that. So we give it back. For example, there was a tweet this week. You probably saw it. Some random guy put out a tweet, and those are random accounts on the Nets accounts, fan accounts, retweet them and they get big. He goes, the Brooklyn Nets got Blake Griffin for $1.2 million. Meanwhile, the Knicks are paying Joakim Noah 6.4 this year and next year, with a bunch of smart laughing emojis. And you laugh, and it's funny, but at the same time, it's like,
we paid Darren Williams for $1 billion years. We did the same thing.
It's ridiculous that they bought out Joakim Noah.
So you hate us. That's the bottom line.
Noah, whatever.
The bottom line is you hate us. You hate our existence. And when I don't want to say when, because that comes across really arrogant.
Yeah, don't go
If
there.
We're at a parade.
Yeah.
If we're God willing, we are at a parade. Biseglia, I'm telling you, Alex is going to do it, and also of his cohorts. They're going to say, well, there's only 700 people at the parade. Or no matter what the number is, you'll say it. Like, even if there's 50,000 people at the parade.
If this was a Knicks parade, can you imagine the amount of people that would be there?
That's all we're going to get that day. And I want you to take this image in your face because I want you to think about this.
Okay.
No matter what you say that day, that week, that year, see this smile? It will not come off any of our faces. So you can throw whatever you want at us. If this team wins an NBA title.
But can you imagine if they don't? Can you just flip that if they don't? What are you going to feel then?
Can I imagine if they don't? Ask me that question again.
You can't imagine because you've never seen it. So, yeah, exactly.
I've seen nothing. Yeah. Can I imagine it? Are you insane? Can I imagine? You're a Met fan.
But imagine the way this loss would be because I mean, we're both Jets and Mets fans, so we've had years where we were like contenders and like we had a chance. It was never like this.
I agree.
Like different sport too, with the way it works. But
yeah, the only time I felt that as a Jet fan was '98, where we had a chance, and then the second Rex championship game, where I was like, "Wow, we might really win this." But other than that, it's been a long time.
It is, bro. I'm going to be honest with you.
You never really had that feeling. Besides,
no, I did have that feeling.
06.
I'm gonna tell you this, man, because you may picture the image of us smiling if we win. The pain that we both had, Biseglia and I, and here's the game 6 of the 2003 NBA Finals. They were up by 10 points in the fourth quarter against the Spurs. I don't know about you, Mike. I was ready for game 7. We were going to force a mother effing game 7 against the San Antonio Spurs. And I stumbled upon it on YouTube about 3 days ago. And I watched about the first 5 minutes of the fourth quarter. I shut it off.
Yeah,
I couldn't watch it again.
You're doing that to yourself. Yeah.
Because I'm going to watch that before they win an NBA title. I'm going to maybe it'll be before the finale.
Definitively again. You're speaking definitively again.
I didn't say definitively if they win an NBA title. The pain would be, if the pain was anything like how we felt after game 6, forget about it.
In the 01-02 season, when they played the Celtics, and it was game 3 in Boston, the Nets had the 25-point lead, blew the 21-point lead in the fourth quarter. I was so depressed. I drove to the Palisades Center Mall in Rye, New York, and sat on a bench and just sat there for hours because I could not handle or think about it. And Alex, think about this. This was before all the bullshit with Twitter and Instagram and all the other outlets that can get in your head and drive you crazy. And I still had to do that. So yes, the thought of Giannis Antetokounmpo making his first playoff 3-pointer and leading it against the Nets to put Milwaukee into the NBA Finals absolutely frightens me. And I am the anticipation and the anxiety, and I'll bring the conversation here. Knicks first round playoff series. The thought of that makes me upset. And Alex, like I think you would agree with this, but like the Nets versus, I would say, the Celtics, Heat, or Raptors would be a much more difficult first round game based on talent level and everything there with the team.
Of course.
But still, like, I rather play the Heat, I think. And maybe I would talk myself out of this when they're down 2-1. But then the Knicks, just based on the idea of the doomsday scenario that would be playing the Knicks and losing.
Right. I just want that series, and I don't want that series and then get stomped out in 4 games. Like, I don't want that.
The only possible outcome.
I want that series, and I want to steal game 1 and just have you guys like I just want to have that feeling, and then you guys win the next 4, and who cares? Great season. We're one step ahead, and I
can't deal with that, especially being on the radio for 5 hours with a Knicks fan who's going to just taunt I can't deal with it. I mean, unless it's 4 straight blowouts, that is a series I want no part of. I agree.
Yeah, you're going to call in sick for that series.
I would never.
Yes, you would face it.
It would be terrifying. Evan, why do you think, we've talked about why we dislike the Knicks, and it actually comes from a place of understanding as Net fans, and maybe you don't agree with this comment, but why does it seem like there is national media that makes it a point to belittle and punish the Knicks? Maybe it's something similar to like doing that with the Mets, doing it with the Jets. They have become a joke franchise to them, even when it's not warranted.
I agree. And I think it is. I try my best, as much as I don't like the Knicks, to call out the unwarranted. I've noticed it a lot with the Porzingis trade, a trade that I thought was the right thing to do. And now those media members that used to enjoy every time Porzingis would have a big game, they ignore his struggles or his injuries. So I understand where the Knicks fans coming from.
And I thank you for that.
It's an anti-New York bias. It's simple because they do the same thing to the Jets. Right. The Jets are treated the same way. Why is there LOL Mets? The Mets were in the World Series in 2015. Like, we're Met fans and we understand the pain we've gone through.
The Mets were in the World Series more recently than the Yankees. I mean, why is that? That's not talked about enough. Nobody cares.
I agree with you, and I'm not mocking the Yankees. It's tough to get to a World Series. It's more the Mets aren't worthy of the reputation they've been given. And even to a degree, the Jets. I mean, the Jets had a good run in 2009 and 2010. We went to back-to-back title games. So they get a lot of ridicule, more ridicule than they deserve. And so I think it's just, look, I hate to say it, but I think the facts kind of back it up. It's an anti-New York thing. And the Knicks obviously get the brunt of it because, as you know, I'm not trying to be a dick here. They've been wildly unsuccessful outside of really 2013.
Yeah. Well, they had the 3 straight playoff years with the Met.
But they were first round exits in 4 and 5. I mean, in fairness. Years. I'm not minimizing it, but they weren't any good. Same thing with 04. They had one really good year. 54 wins is a big freaking deal. I don't want to minimize that at all.
2 seed, winning around, division, the whole thing. Yeah.
100%.
Division crowns don't mean anything in the NBA. But yeah, no, it's just,
they matter a lot. We put banners up for that.
The Knicks
those banners. Oh, those stinking banners. Evan, the second half of the season for the Knicks, and we'll do a Knick question here to let the Knick audience enjoy it. Tough start for the Knicks out of the gate. They've got difficult games: Milwaukee, Nets, Philly in the mix. Do you see this sustaining for the Knicks, where they're a 5 type seed, or more fall into that like 6, 7, 8, and then it kind of they're playoff spot mix?
Look, I'm not being a jerk when I say this. They're not going to be a top 6 seed team, mainly because Boston will be better. I think Toronto will be better, I think, and the schedule stiffens up. But I think they should be in the play-in tournament. I'm telling you right now, if I'm a Knicks fan, my expectations change. It's a disaster if I'm not at least in that play-in tournament.
Oh, yeah.
That's how I would look at it. But I think if we're trying to set the bar realistically, when you look at how tough the schedule is, when you look at the fact that some of these mediocre Eastern Conference teams will play better, look, they're not going to finish in the top 6. And I think most Knicks fans kind of understand that.
For sure. And do you think the Knicks should make a move at the deadline to maybe get a shooter? I've heard you talk. We talked about JJ Redick, something like that.
Yeah.
I heard you talk about that too. Like, what are you thinking?
They should, if it doesn't hurt your future. It's the way the Nets looked at it, the way I looked at it as a Net fan in 2019. They needed to stretch 4. I understood they weren't going to give up multiple first-round picks necessarily for a free agent or somebody that would hurt their cap space moving forward, so they had to be smart about it. Consequently, they did nothing, just for the record. But I would kind of look at it the same way. If I can make a move that helps me in the short term without hurting me in the long term, whether it's giving up assets or hurting my cap, even though that would be tough to do considering the great flexibility that they have, you're damn right they should get better. And clearly adding a shooter would be the priority.
Right.
I'm
real quick, last week,
ahead,
sorry, Mike. Last week, Mike really talked up Nick Claxton. He was really pumped up about him, and rightfully
before he played too.
Yeah, before he played, and then
Young
when he was
Chris
playing
Bosh
well,
is what I said, Evan.
He got me excited about him, and I needed a big man in fantasy, so I picked him up and dropped Roy Hachimura, and then of course 2 days later they signed Blake Griffin. So now my question for you is: should I keep Nick Claxton, or should I see how the rotation goes? What do you think the rotation is going to be for Blake Griffin? That's for my selfish reasons.
It's legitimately what is the answer on Kevin Durant's health? What is the answer on Jeff Green's health? The problem is I look, any Net fan or Knick fan would be thrilled about a kid playing 16 minutes and 17 minutes and putting up the numbers he put up and playing as well as he played. I don't know if he's going to be in this rotation long term because of the veterans that they've added, the veterans they will add potentially over the next few weeks, and as they get healthier. So I like him. He's definitely a part of the future, but it really is going to be heavily relied on the health of this team. If Durant and Jeff Green are back right away, I mean, where are the minutes coming from for Nicholas Claxton? I don't think it's going to be there.
When I drive around and I do Uber Eats, I like to listen to you and Craig on the air, and I hear a lot of Net stuff, but maybe I missed this. So I'm kind of curious that I don't think I've heard you bring this up in a while, and what your thought is on this.
What?
How do you think Steve Nash is doing as a head coach? He won Coach of the Year in the beginning of the season. He was talked about because of all the blunders he had with rotations. During this winning streak, he hasn't really been talked about as much. I know he won Eastern Conference Coach of the Month, but how do you think he's handled being the head coach in the last month since Harden's come along and the job he's done?
Look, I mean, it's tough to rip him because they win every single night. I think he's gotten better. I mean, the big criticisms you and I had, and I think Net fans had, was when he would call timeouts and his rotation. outside of a few things, like I thought the Dallas game, and I know they were shorthanded that night. I didn't understand why he didn't go to Claxton earlier, especially with Porzingis getting his way that night. But outside of that, I think his rotations have been better. Remember, he ignored Bruce Brown the first few games of the season. Yep. And we were both screaming, can we get Bruce Brown in the game? Yeah. Now the guy plays 25 minutes a night, but he's been better. And look, here's the reality. Is he Eric Spoelstra? If it's a close game late, I'm not going to trust Steve Nash to outcoach Eric Spoelstra, but I think he's gotten better as the season has gone on, and he's got a whole load of talent. And so really your job is to not F it up. And
Ty Lewitt.
Lately, he has not been effing it up, would be my compliment of him.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. Ty Lewitt. All right, Alex, any other things you want to get into? Are you ready for our episode number and the jersey number? Okay, so I think I'm right. If I'm wrong, oops. So I'm going to say the episode number, and then we have to name Net and Knicks with that number. You ready?
Okay, I'm ready.
Episode number, and let Alex set the scene first. Well, unless I guess if you know him, it just jump to your head.
Mike screwed it up, but no, I'm just kidding.
Well, Alex, you take it away from here. I already
we do like so pretty much. So we're getting to the higher number. So it's episode 51 we're at right now. So I'm gonna pick a player. Yeah, look at us, man. So I'm gonna pick a player and from the Knicks. So there was 2 in their history, right? One you're probably not going to guess, but the other one was in 2014, and he was a crazy, crazy guy. Only played 1 season for the Knicks.
What year did you say? 2014?
2014.
And he was a crazy guy.
Like crazy on or off the court?
Both. Crazy in kind of a lovable way sometimes, actually, also.
Has he been mentioned on this podcast today?
He has not. Well, maybe, but
Meta World Peace.
Nailed it. There you go. There you go.
Michael really?
Loses these. Yeah, you got it. There you go. Peace. I was going to say 2 names, but then you guys would have gotten that.
Didn't he wear 91 for a while too?
No, I think that was with the Kings, probably.
Yeah. No, I don't mean with the Knicks, obviously.
Oh, yeah. And then the other Nick in history was Michael Doliak. No way you guys would have gotten
that.
No. Who was teammates with Van Horn in Utah.
I can't think of many Nets that were 51. I'm really trying to think.
I have one.
I have one that you guys will know.
Sean Williams.
The team from there you go.
Sean Williams, that's right.
The Elastic Man, right?
Did Eddie House wear number 51 or something similar?
Number 50. We actually did this last week.
Close.
Last week, this is a really cool Knicks and Nets trivia question. Obscure.
Oh yes.
The only 2 Knicks and Nets have worn number 50. And one is Eddie House. The other one is, you'll never guess it, but try. He played 1 year. Dan Gadzuric. It was,
oh my God.
Eddie House and Dan Gadzuric are the 2 Knicks and Nets that wore number 50, which is the most wild.
Crazy.
So 2 others were 1983, Eddie Phillips for the Nets. He played 1 year, who knows? And then William Cunningham in 1999. Who knows who that
I do remember the name William Cunningham, though. I
vaguely remember that.
I vaguely remember that, but I could not have told you that. Well, Evan, thank you for coming on. Thank you for getting into it a little bit, talking about this Nets-Knicks budding rivalry, this potential playoff series maybe that happens, and everything in between that's Nets and Knicks. I think it's fun. I like getting you triggered on the Knicks because it makes me feel better, or whatever. Any last words on that front?
I appreciate that he came around. I think he realizes he was being a little bit of a hypocrite with the whole, they're just a bunch of mercenaries, when Robin Ventura, Al Leiter, Mike Piazza, and we love that team. So even though you didn't fully admit it, I know you've come around and you're just jealous, and that's okay.
Listen, it's all right. I mean, listen, I gave it to the Nets when they got Harden. It's like, what can I get mad about? Before, I didn't want Durant when he went down, and Durant has barely played. I'm sure they're just resting him for the playoffs. He's probably not as injured as they're leading on, and he's probably going to be fine. But if the way that they were before the Harden trade, I didn't think it was going to work out. But when they got Harden and Harden lost 20 pounds in 2 days, I'm like, all right, you know what? This is it. It's over.
And let me just say, I love James Harden. He is the man. I love that guy. The superstar we never know we needed.
Can I tell you a story? I was driving in the city. I was moving the car. It doesn't matter the story. And I get the alert that the Nets got Harden, and I texted Mike, "Holy crap!" And like then I'm listening to you in the car, and I'm like, "Oh my god, I'm waiting for him to get the news. Can he get the news? Can he get the news?" And then you had your epic meltdown. It was hilarious. It was great radio, I gotta say.
Thanks. I didn't have a good time during it, but okay.
All right.
It was great also because I knew Carton was going to spin it in a way that was just going to make you even more mad. And it's just fantastic. I love the show, guys. I
will have to say, and I have enjoyed when you guys are talking Knicks or just basketball in general, because that's my favorite sport. And I like hearing that itch scratch, and it's nice to hear it on the radio, even if some of the times it's a lot of back and forth with jabs that are kind of fake, like not fake, but like playful, making fun of a team for stuff that really isn't real or whatnot. It's good to hear Nick talk on the radio. I love that.
People who know what they're talking about too, not just.
It's a fun mix because us Net fans aren't anywhere. So I'm glad that we have some voice.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you've been carrying that mantle for a while, though. That's for sure.
Evan, thank you for coming on Bad Weather Fans. We appreciate it.
Thank you. It's an honor. Keep doing what you're doing.